me just wait for Jillian to come back in the room. She's just checking something with Daphne.
Okay. They're talking dragon.
30,200. Close enough.
They were talking mosquitoes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Mini?
Oh, I do need to print something for non-public, but I'll do that.
Do you want to at
We're
least
just
do the,
waiting for Jillian to come back. She's asking Daphne a question, and then we'll
You
get
want-
started.
do the pledge and
Sure. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:03, and we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody. So we do have a new treasurer who is just trying to get his feet wet. I think he's working on the treasurer's report, but unless he comes sprinting down the hall in the next 5 minutes, we may just approve it next week because he's working on generating that. So we will start as usual by reviewing and signing payroll and accounts payable. For the period ending 11/23/24, we had payroll in the amount of $33,411.60. We had accounts payable in the amount of $672,519.45. The reason that number is so high is that includes almost a $650,000 payment to the county. So that is the bulk of our accounts payable for this week. We also had a payment to New Hampshire Retirement of $45,905.97. Does someone have the consent agenda?
I haven't seen it.
Did I bring it back in?
I took it off the printer a while ago.
I put it in the folder. What did I do with the folder is the question. Hold on one second.
It's in a safe place. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
I just put it together.
If you signed it, we can just put it on the pile.
All right, so we are going to use the version of it without the treasurer's report. You all set with that, Letty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion.
Wait, which thing?
Just once that's signed, I'll move on to the next.
Yep.
Motion to approve the consent.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Second.
So in tonight's consent agenda, we have public minutes from 11:19. We have non-public minutes from 11:19, which are sealed. We have the rec manifest. We're going to pause on the treasurer's report for this week. And we also have our standard building permits. Any further discussion or questions about consent agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we will pass that. We will next move on to public comment, and we will open public comment at 6:06 p.m. Come on up, turn your microphone on, and don't forget to say your name and your street.
Rob with Chuck PBD Drive. I think on your agenda is the removal of Pickpocket Dam and the meeting coming up in Exeter. It seems like at some point the town will have the opportunity and will want to make a formal comment on what's going on, whether or not that's in favor of whatever they decide or against, or at least to make sure that the Brentwood residents are protected since most of the impact will be upstream. So in corresponding with some of the other people that are following this more, they'll probably need a wetland permit of some point, which would come to the Conservation Commission. So I think it would, and here comes Becky, thank you, to get some expertise somehow on the town side involved to be able to analyze whatever hundreds of pages of reports. So I'm not sure if that should happen. I mean, I think it should, but where that would happen on the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, the Select Board, and, should someone be hired or engaged? I was just talking about the pickpocket dam removal. How to get that expertise brought to bear now as these meetings are going and presentations are being made, because I don't know if any of us on the Conservation Commission have the expertise to make a formal written response to the plans. So I'll throw that open to you guys. And again, I don't know if it should be the Conservation Commission, Planning Board, or who's going to pay for such a response, but
Yeah,
I
so
just wanted
what,
to make sure that was...
what we received from the town of Exeter is the public information session flyer, which is put up on the conservation board here and is, if not already, is going to be posted on the website. And that is a save the date that there is a public information session on Tuesday, December 10th at the Exeter Public Library from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And the agenda is to once again present the contents of the feasibility study, to talk about the decision process and project next steps, to update on potential funding opportunities, and then there's going to be breakout discussions that focus on 1, environmental impact and permitting requirements, 2, sediment management and erosion control, and 3, engineering design. And so along with this, I had gotten a communication from Russ Dean over in Exeter indicating that they would be looking for some sort of formal letter from Brentwood. So I think I can certainly circle back to him in terms of what that would look like, and then maybe us and the groups in Brentwood will have to decide who's going to weigh in on that letter, what the content of that letter is, and what the timing of that letter is, because I don't think I have a good understanding of the answers to those questions. So I will attempt to get some answers to that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Becky, did you want to comment on that?
Quickly. Yes, thank you for sharing. Oh, Becky Dunham, 9 Block Drive.
Thank you.
Conservation, for sharing the letter and the flyer with me yesterday. One of my thoughts was going back to the original draft of the letter we were going to send to Exeter when the issue first came
Yep.
up, that we asked that conservation be involved in any
Yep.
discussion. So I think that's part of your response to Russ Dean, is having us involved, because if they're going to talk about sediment, erosion control, those things will impact all those conservation properties right along the river.
Yeah,
So
and I have to tell you that I think Exeter's interpretation of us being involved
it's
is-
different.
is
Yes,
this,
yes.
is emailing this to
Yeah.
me as the chair.
I understand, yes. But the number of properties that will be affected, I think it's important that whatever, Exeter's already made the decision to remove the dam. I'm guessing that's what he
They
said.
have
in
made the
his-
decision, but don't have the public approval for
Okay.
potential funding sources.
So as they move forward, if they're indeed going to do this and seek funding, we need to have a voice in that, because that will impact the property, whatever they do. If the dam comes down, the damage or the impact is going to be on our side of the border. So that has to be built into any grant proposals, any discussion about what the impact, the environmental impact will be. So we need to have our voice in that. How that unfolds, what expert or what expertise we need, I don't know, with 24 hours notice.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment at 6:11. We'll move on to our discussion action items. The first one is that at the late hour of 9-something at our last meeting, we discussed appointing Wayne Morrill to ZBA, and then we failed to actually vote on it because we were a little tired and distracted and had moved on to talking about Casella. So I have in front of me an appointment slip to appoint Wayne Morrill to the ZBA. His term is listed as going through, this says This is not right, Jillian, I don't think. This says July 31st, 2024. Is it supposed to say 2026? Okay, I'm going to correct that. I think that's what you told me earlier. So through summer of 2026, and we had previously discussed this application and thought it was a good fit with the caveat that he, of course, would have to recuse himself from any discussions that involved him personally or his company. Is there any further discussion about this appointment?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so all of us need to sign this, and then Daphne will swear him in. Before we start the budgets that are on our agenda tonight, you have in front of you two loose budgets that have red pen on them. These are budgets that the select board had approved sort of preliminarily because they either needed a math correction or an adjustment. So the first one is rec, and the select board had approved rec with the removal of the extra seasonal person being expanded up to full-time. So that was removed from this. That's essentially the only change that occurred in this budget. And so BudCom last night did approve this budget at the 116,483 that you have listed here. We've already discussed this budget at length, but if this board is ready to approve that number, then we will align with BudCom.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh.
No? Okay, thank you. The second one is highway. We had already approved the second section of highway, which is snow and ice, where we had removed the $80,000 from the sand and salt line. This is the first part of his budget. There was a few math corrections done on here to adjust for the correct wage adjustments and also to adjust a little bit for New Hampshire retirement and FICA Medicare. So you see just small differences here. It changes the budget just by a couple $1,000s. And the budget as approved by BudCom was the 836,137, which is an increase of 2.16%.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay. So those are passed and in agreement with BudCom. The only budget that we have approved that BudCom has not approved is the town administrator budget, which they have agreed to keep tabled for now until we potentially, as a select board, discuss if we need to make any adjustments to the compensation line in light of trying to hire a new town administrator. So we can discuss that.
Agreed to, as in we asked, that was a request, or?
As in, we approved it while Karen was on leave, and now that we've separated with Karen, BudCom felt that it might make sense for us to make sure that we feel the salary line is going to work for us for recruiting purposes.
Okay.
And didn't feel that there was urgency to approve it until we had those discussions. So that's the only outstanding one.
105.
It's listed right now as, I think, 110 for next year's budget. And so I think it might behoove us to look around a little bit and make sure that that is, would help us attract good applicants that we're looking for. Okay, so moving on to budgets for tonight. And the first that we have on here is library. And I apologize, Janice, that I didn't have time to chat with you before the meeting, but hopefully we can answer your questions up here. Yeah, if you know what, we can move, oh, okay. That's okay. Okay. Or you might be able to like email it to Letty and she can connect her computer if you want to. It depends how important it is to you.
It is and it isn't, it is, but I can't.
We
It's
have,
actually in Canada.
oh, okay. We have it here, so we could certainly attach it to the minutes if you'd like us to.
Letty, can you help? It's not picking up the monitor.
It's okay, we'll just,
Right.
we'll just go with the. If you can email it. It's part of Canva, like you have to actually play it on Canva. For it to come out, right?
If you have a Canva account, then you can email it to her. Yeah.
If it's important to you to put it up, then you certainly can.
We just don't have a lot of your time.
Maybe while you are working on that, we can do our mosquito control and health officer budgets.
Perfect.
And you can just get yourself situated.
Okay, hold on, I gotta join it.
Okay, so let's move on. We have some pretty straightforward budgets here. We have the mosquito control budget, which is with Dragon. And Letty, I know you just sent me an email.
Yep.
I'm just going to confirm that this number looks right. Looks kind of ballpark correct, although
Yeah, there were a couple optional things
Yep.
at the end where it's like you could do this some number of
that may be
times.
why we chose this number, because it allows for some additional spraying.
Yep.
So we have essentially a flat budget from last year. Last year was 30,200. Next year requested is 30,200, leaving this at a level funded budget. Is there any discussion about this?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we will pass this. And then the next is the health officer. I believe Bob is actually going to come to our next meeting, or maybe a meeting soon, about a separate issue that he wants to address with the board. And we had talked about kind of checking in with him as well as health officer. And he traditionally has declined salary for this position, and this has been a budget that is funded at $1. I do think that we should have a discussion in the future about whether we need to plan ahead with a slightly larger budget in here if we ever were to lose our current health officer. But I know for many years it has been a $1 budget and has remained that way. Is there any discussion from the board about this?
Motion to table.
Sorry.
You want to table it?
I think we should either put money in or wait until we talked about it.
Do we have any indication from Bob that he's planning to resign in the next year? Not that I'm aware of. If you
No,
want to
no, no.
table it until we confirm that with him and then have that discussion after that point, we can certainly do that. I think
mean,
he's
I guess
coming
if
next week.
Coming in soon. It's not
Yeah.
big.
Okay, we have a motion to table this until we discuss with our health officer. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
I'll do aye. Yep. Okay. So we'll table that till next week, and I'll just confirm with him that he will be here. If not, we will bump it to when he can be here. Okay, so we will table that. Are we making progress here? If not, I can move on. Well,
No, we are.
this is,
I mean,
do you
how
need,
much progress do you?
do you need a few more minutes?
I have a little.
Yeah, it's up to you. Are we getting close to having something on the screen? Yes. Okay, so why don't you start, Janice, and then we will hopefully get our technology to catch up with us.
So thank you for hearing me today. Before I begin the budget presentation, I wanted to discuss the need for advancing the start date of a fourth library assistant position to January 2025. So what you'll see in my budget, it was originally planned to begin mid-year as part of a transition plan to phase out 2 page positions, but circumstances have changed, and I'm now requesting approval to use encumbered salary funds from 2024 to cover the cost of starting this position sooner. Some of this is going to hinge on what I had talked to you guys about with my salary report, because I'm not sure where that number lands right now. If I have it figured correctly, then we would have the money to do this. Our youth librarian, who's been on leave, will be returning earlier than expected. This is great news for our team and the community, but we believe her return will be at half time to start. This creates a pressing need for additional staffing to maintain our library hours and service our patrons have come to depend on. With her working half-time, we need staff on the floor to keep the library fully operational and responsive to patron needs. Our youth programs are a cornerstone of library services, and the assistant will help bridge the gap.
Hold on. Every time.
Look at the magic.
I do that every time.
It's okay. It wakes people up.
Ensuring that the programs run smoothly during this transition. Our existing team is already stretched pretty thin, and the added capacity will prevent burnout and allow us to meet the needs of the community. So to fund this adjustment without putting undue strain on the 2025 operating budget, I propose encumbering $4,000 of leftover salary funds from 2024. This would cover our choice for a fourth library assistant at 20 hours per week from January through March 2025 at her current rate. These funds will be available because the budgeted amount of payroll for the youth librarian from mid-September through the end of the year 2024 was replaced with short-term disability payments. This approach not only addresses our immediate operational need, but also reflects an appropriate use of existing resources. And this will ensure seamless service and programming during the transition, keeps critical programs and services running at their current levels without interruption. And then makes use of available funds, minimizing the budget impact in 2025. We believe this request presents a thoughtful and responsible response to a staffing challenge that would otherwise disrupt our operations. So that's kind of a prelude to my presentation.
And Janice, in your presentation, are you going to go through kind of specifically what your current staffing is and
Yes.
what you're suggesting changing to?
Yes.
Okay.
No?
We just get to look at ourselves in reverse for a few minutes. Okay.
I have, and actually I followed up with him today because I sent him the document weeks ago and haven't heard back. I'm working.
So do you want to follow along for now, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I produced this presentation. First page shows you one of our cutie patooties learning at a very young age how to turn the pages of a book, which is pre-reading skills.
Andy, can you turn off
And
that
she
video?
learned that
It's very
in
distracting.
she learned that in story time. So in my budget, there are 3 lines that I was able to decrease. One is equipment and security. We had increased that in 2024 to accommodate a need to install a secondary alarm panel. We're done with that work, and therefore we can go back to the line as it had been. So we were able to reduce that for 2025. Our catalog and system maintenance has not increased in 5 years. So rather than continue to wonder if it's going to increase, I'm reducing it. Watch, this will be the year I'll get an increased bill, but I don't think so. And then our supplies. So you'll learn later in this presentation that books and media costs have gone way up. And as a result, our budget did not withstand ordering the same number of books we have in the past. So this is kind of a strange situation, but thank you, thank you. We actually needed fewer book covering supplies because we had fewer books to cover. And so I was able to lower that line for now. I didn't lower it all the way because I am asking for an increase in media. So the next page, under increased line items, is media. Media includes books, DVDs, digital resources. And the books, if you have been to a bookstore anytime recently, they're skyrocketing, the prices. I'm seeing a lot of $30 to $35 titles for hardcovers. And though we get a very good discount through our book ordering system, that's still impacting our budgetary ability to purchase what we have been. And our patrons have come to enjoy and appreciate the new books that we offer. Our computers, all the staff computers and the circulation computer, there are 5 in total, minus mine, which was already updated. They were donated 5 years ago, and they're nearing end of life. You can only imagine a 5-year-old computer. And so increasing this item will allow us to replace 1 computer this year, and if we keep it at that, we can replace another computer each year until we're back to where we have really good functioning equipment.
Can I just, oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah, take your microphone back if you're gonna talk.
On the computers piece,
Mhm.
you're buying 1 computer per year?
Mhm.
What's the rest of the line go for?
The rest of the line is for IT services and IT. And there's another thing. Why can't I think right now? No, that's a different line. That's telephone, Wi-Fi, internet. Computers is, whenever I'm on the spot. I'm sorry.
Your website stuff, maybe? Like your email addresses and your,
Our printers,
oh, printer.
our printers.
So for the
How much are we paying for printers?
The printer's not a high expense, it's the IT. IT is $910 a month. They back up our systems, they come in whenever something needs to be addressed, that's all part of the contract.
Is this block 5?
I don't know, who is it?
We don't have block 5.
Oh, you don't?
No. Jim helped us back when he was on the board, get set up with this company. So it's a husband-wife team, but they do this professionally. It's called 2U Technology.
And historically, has the library always paid for all their own printers out of their own budget? As
Yes.
opposed to like how we have a capital reserve fund here for our
So
computers?
our printers are actually on a contract. We have a 5-year contract. It's $120 a month for unlimited printing. That includes toner. The only thing it doesn't include is paper.
Okay.
Sorry, how much is it a month?
120 for 2 printers with unlimited toner.
Are they color?
One is color, one is black and white. And they're both laser.
Okay.
So did we figure out the computer line?
Yeah, so it was,
Computers
Drawing a
plus
blank.
printers
The
plus maintenance
printers.
contracts,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
105 a month, that's 13,000. At 105 a month for printers, that's 13,000 or close to it. Well, 12,000 plus,
Well,
12,060?
No, but it's plus the
1300.
910.
so it's,
105 times 12?
which is
Oh, yeah.
1440, so it's 1440, 120, right? For the printers,
Right.
120 for the printers, 910.
The bulk of that's maintenance.
So the
Yeah.
bulk of it is this service contract.
Service contract.
Yeah, the IT.
which has remained level for 4 years now. So then the third increased item is telephone, Wi-Fi, internet, and that's based on just inflation and projected costs. And that is, yeah, so that's $500 increase. And as you can see, as of 11/22, we've already spent 98.2% of that line item. So the $500 is actually to project, but also we probably will have a little bit of a shortfall on that item and have to take it from another item.
But I thought you said that the cost was 300 or 2 something a month.
Yeah, 2.6. I can go into the other side. I think it was 289. 289. If you want me to take the
So-
time, I can flip over.
Well, the only reason I'm not trying to harp on it, I'm just trying to understand if it's, let's say it's 289 times 12, that's 3468, so we shouldn't be overdrawing that line. I'm just trying to make sure I understand the situation.
So 280, well, it varied from 286 to 287. Each month is slightly different, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's already been 12 months. What I think happened was we paid on January 3rd our December bill.
So it's an extra month
So it's an extra
carried
month.
over. Yeah, okay.
And it was based on when they sent it. Does that help?
Mhm.
All right. So those are my 3 increases.
So, I'm sorry, do we need then the increase on that line? I'm confused.
If it's a projected
Yeah.
increase, Comcast doesn't tell you ahead of time what they're
Oh, I
gonna,
understand.
so,
But it's, if I'm hearing it was an extra month that was built into that,
right.
so maybe it doesn't need to be increased.
Possibly.
It's only a difference of like $500. Yeah.
I know.
I mean,
understand.
I can back it out of there if you want. You know, some of the budget is done. I actually had this done back at the beginning when we started this whole process, and although I went back in and did some more assessing, a lot of the assessment was done ahead of time, so there were some unknowns for the projections.
On the salaries.
I think she's going to get to that.
Gonna get to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll hold.
Okay. So as far as the operations side of the budget, everything else remains the same. And we feel confident that level funding will allow us to fund our necessities while keeping the impact to the budget, as small as we can. So in total, our operating expenses are set to increase 2.7%, which, just to put it in perspective, is $2,340.
Can I ask what might be a really dumb question so nobody laugh at me? You have electricity in here for $6,350. What's changed since last year is we now own our solar array. And I just don't, does anyone on the board understand? Doesn't that change our
I don't know.
costs related to electricity?
We've never gotten the impact from that.
Is the
No
library not
assets.
on
No.
the,
So we
Solar.
still have to buy it from Eversource because they're not directly connected to the grid. So the library still has to buy it. and
Okay.
then Part of net metering, they reimburse the town, which
Gotcha.
the money goes to the general
Okay, so we
fund.
still need to have it in a cost item, but then it's reimbursed essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not really a true cost to the taxpayer. but it
Kinda
has to
like-
have a line in it.
Daphne's office.
Right.
Daphne's office is
Yeah,
almost always funded by
Yep.
everything else, but we still have to
Well,
budget
exactly.
for it.
Kip's
And
office
Kip's
too.
office and the
office, yeah.
rec, and yeah, I totally, okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding that still needed to stay in there.
And we have our own account with Eversource. We pay all of
Gotcha.
our bills, so.
Gotcha, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Do you get to take advantage of the propane thing that we have that locked in rate?
The account, yes, the rate I do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's pretty much it for operations. Does anybody have any other questions on that particular piece? So the remaining part is compensation. And if you look at that next page, it says compensation. It shows that, oh, I lost something. I lost the number 2. We have 1 director, 1 assistant director, 3 library assistants, and that should say 2 pages. Library assistants, pre-pandemic, we had 4. Today we have 3. And we are looking to phase out pages when they graduate from high school this year. So those 2 positions will go away, and instead we would like to put in for a 4th library assistant. And then the work that the pages do would get filtered into everybody's job.
So before the pandemic, there were 4 assistants and 2 pages. You
Yeah, 4
currently have
assistants,
3
2
and
pages
2.
and 2 seasonal pages.
Okay.
So we
You
had gone
currently
down
have
to
3 and 2, and you're talking about going to 4 and 0. Okay.
And what that does is the library assistants give us the ability to have more flexibility. We love our teen pages. Absolutely, they're fantastic. But they're only available after school and on weekends. And when they start with us in their freshman year usually, they're under the labor laws. They can only work certain hours. They can only work a certain number of hours. So we're very, very limited as to where we can place them. Having another library assistant instead of that position allows us to, manipulate the 4 positions over the 6 days a week that we're open.
And what's the relative cost difference? Obviously, the pages work a lower number of hours for a lower average pay. Do you have kind of a ballpark for what the cost difference is of phasing those 2 jobs out and replacing them with an assistant? And of course, there's some awkward time overlap there too, right?
Yeah, so it's a complicated,
Because the pages will end like June.
yeah. And they're probably, one will end sooner than the other. One of them does summer activities and usually takes the summer off. So she'll end sooner. The other one will continue for a little bit longer, and it will all depend on the colleges that they choose. So we're projecting estimates on that.
Okay.
Where did I put my?
So if you just literally take the total for that new library assistant and subtract the 2 pages, salaries or wages from it, you get $6,852. So $6,852. It sounds like it could be a little less than that depending on the overlap.
Because which library assistant are we talking about? Level 1, 2, or 3?
Level 3.
The 3 is the one we're adding?
Mhm.
Oh, wait. Here I see 1,
Level
2, and 2. Level 2?
I'm sorry, 2.
Okay.
Yeah, the second level 2.
What
And this is a 20-hour-a-week position?
Yes.
what are the certifications that come with this position, if any? What
Sure.
differentiates between a 1 and a 2, I guess?
Some of it is experience. Well, most of it's experience. Our level 1 has been doing this job for quite a few number of years. And our first level 2 comes to us from another library and also had many years in library service. The second level 2 is someone who's new to the field. just graduated college and is getting her, hopefully getting her library science degree. That's her goal. As she's also working for us.
Where, how did you come up with these rates? The rate that you're offering for the new person?
The new person, it's, I don't recall what I did there. Oh, I know. I was bringing it to level out with the first level two.
17, 15. So and this would be 20 hours a week, but it's a little confusing because you have the different time frames. But over a year, it would work out to like 18 grand for the 20 hours a week. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, it would be, so over the year, it would be 13 to 720. If you look at the total.
That's because it doesn't include January to March,
Right.
but it would in the future.
In the
moving
future,
forward.
yes.
Other than 25, moving forward, it would be an extra 18 grand a year for that position.
But then
Minus
subtracting
this.
out the 11,000 for the pages. So that's Letty's difference of 6,000 or 7,000, because it's really a transition of two jobs, two more part-time jobs into a different part-time person. So it's about a $6,000 or $7,000 delta.
And it looks like it's
To do
also
that.
16 hours to 20 hours, right? Because the two
Right.
pages are 8
Yep.
hours. a
Yeah.
week.
So it's really only adding 4 hours of employee time, because it's a transition of two very part-time people into one part-time person. Okay.
And none of our part-timers get benefits other than they do get earned time and they get holiday pay.
Right.
I thought you had one employee that does get benefits, but do they not get it through you? They get it through the town?
She said part-time people.
The person that I'm talking about is technically a part-time person for the library?
Yeah, well, she's classified as full-time with the town,
Okay, that's,
Yeah, that's why it's different.
but
for
we're
Jan.
part-time, she's part-time with us.
okay.
So that's always been, you know, something we have to manage. She does about 18 hours for us.
She's listed on here as the full-time town employee.
Yes,
That's for Joyce. Okay.
which that makes, it's full-time town employee, but in my eyes, it's a library assistant.
Yep.
That's where the fourth comes from.
So when you say for the increase of compensation salaries of 9.3, and you say two primary drivers, the COLA plus merit and the new position, can you say, is it about half and half then of that increase? Or is it like closer to 5% of that?
Yeah, it's
nine?
less than 5% for COLA and merit. Because there's a variability there. So the new position, so it's about, it's close to half.
So her total salary and benefit cost is going up about 21,500. So sounds like about 7,000 of that, or about a third of that, is directly from this position transition. So presumably the other 2/3 is all COLA, merit, et cetera. That's how I would interpret that. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Based on the numbers that we just talked about. Other questions for Janice about this suggested transition of staff?
And if you flip to the next page of the presentation, it says, why invest in the library's needs? Show some statistics from January through October. The library welcomed 11,197 people of all ages into the building, or on the premises.
Nice.
We circulated meaning checking in and checking out, 31,389 items. We hosted 166 programs with 2,355 attendees, and we still have 2 months to report because I'm always a month behind on the reporting. I wait until the end of the month. And then the bottom of this page, and I won't read them, but it has impact statements from a variety of people that use the library, people that use it with their children, people that come in as business, using it on a business level, people who are adults or seniors that use us. And these are just snippets. The actual full text is on our website as testimonials. So if you're interested in seeing more of what people are saying, please check that out. It's on our About Us page.
And Janice, can you remind us this approximately 11,000 people that you've seen so far this year, how does that compare to pre-pandemic?
So this is where it gets really tough. You've heard this 1,000 times. Pre-pandemic, we had a different system of calculating.
Oh, okay.
So we had an actual counter on the door,
Okay.
and it would count people as they came in. But what that did was, like, let's use our full-time town employee, who at the time was working outside a lot. Every time she would go in and out, that would count.
Gotcha.
Where now we don't count the staff.
Yep.
We don't.
So it's really hard to
multiple.
compare.
So it's hard to compare.
If you look at like
But
circulation.
we're not that far off, so it tells me that we're actually doing
Like in terms of like circulation and things getting checked out, it's sort of back to pre-pandemic.
It's not quite there,
Okay.
but if you combine that with the increase in programs and
Sure.
things, if you look at the amount of work that we're doing, we are definitely busier than we were
Gotcha.
pre-pandemic.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, questions that the board has for Janice about this budget in front of you that we haven't already discussed?
I'm gonna move the 358,990.24.
Okay, we have a motion by Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Letty. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
I'm a library patron. I'm a big supporter of this, and I am going to probably vote to abstain here, and it has nothing to do with you or the program. There's been a lot of discussion at this table over this year about minimizing any sort of increases. The rec has between 2,000 to 4,000 people during season every single day of the weekend, on a lot of weekends, and we still have only one person running that entire department, and they generate revenue. They've asked multiple times to get a full-time staffer. I thought the rec board did a really, really good job this year of putting together a good presentation about why that makes sense and additional revenue generation opportunities that would allow for the department to offset that. And this board did not choose to support it. So given, again, you guys do awesome work. This is not a statement about the library or the library's work or the staff. But given that they have, the rec has one staff and was asking to increase the seasonal to one additional full-time, which I do think was a reasonable request. When I look at here and at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with eliminating the 2 pages. So 8 staff of varying hours, 100% granted. I just can't support this when I'm at the same time looking at
Sure, no, I hear you.
the counterpoint.
And I hear your point, honestly, and I think if this had been a pure creation of a new position, I would have supported this going for a warrant to add a new employee. For me, the reason why I am okay with voting for this is that we are eliminating 2 positions and replacing with another part-time position with a relatively minimal cost. So I feel more comfortable with this, but I hear your point 100%. And I very much encourage anybody who supports the rec to get your butt in a seat at town meeting and vote yes on the warrant that's going to be there for that employee.
Can I just respectfully say I
Of course.
also support the rec's
Of
you know,
course,
what
this
they're
isn't
looking
a, it's
for,
not a
because
competition. Yep.
It's not a competition. We're two different departments and we work together a lot. So I actually in support of that budget. I don't compare myself to others because the other thing is we have the unique, I believe unique situation where we have a building that has to be open 6 days a week, at least 9 to 6, sometimes 9 to 7.
Sure, you can't really compare different departments.
So it's different. So we have to have people.
Yep.
Absolutely, and
But I do understand why you're abstaining, and I respect that.
and then I feel as though it's my responsibility to make a statement with
Yep.
the board that
Yep.
Absolutely.
that I'm on.
Definitely noted.
No hard feelings.
Okay. Any other discussion? We do have a motion and a second on the table.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul?
and again, so I'd echo a little bit of where, John's coming from, and not to pit, any department. And I support all the departments, and I think what we're struggling here is with, not just, COLA and merit that, bring, on an annual basis, increases, but then, which I understand this board at some point, put into effect, but then also, dealing with, then additional, positions, even though, it's not a, I understand it's a replacing, but it's a replacing plus, and just struggling, with all of that in terms of how you keep expenses, in line, because, it all ends up in the bottom line at the end of the day.
I just
So,
got my text.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I will say, just to give you a little perspective, on merit, when I was figuring out merit, some of this came down to not only do the staff work really hard and give me a lot of extra, but this year they worked through construction a good segment of the year, and we never once closed the doors. So I felt that they had gone above and beyond as a team to really support the library and our patrons while we were trying to go through that. So, next year may look different, but that's where it came from, just so you have a little perspective.
I get it. I get it. And I get that people work hard, as well. So it's just, these are tough issues.
Yeah.
I guess for me, the difference also, and I don't know if this is helpful for you, Paul.
I'm sorry?
I said, for me, the difference is also that this is replacing a position that used to exist and was eliminated because of COVID. And the difference is like $6,000, I think, for the added 4 hours in different position versus the rec position would have added much more than $6,000.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll still get approved by the voters.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And again,
I'm gonna vote for it.
Not trying to compare one against the other.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at a number.
We hear
where
ya.
It says 8.7%.
We hear you, 100%.
So
Yep.
that's all I'm looking at.
Yep. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm an aye. All opposed? Abstain?
I'll abstain.
Abstain. So 2 abstains. And that budget passes. All right, thank you. And if we can get an electronic copy of your presentation to Jillian, she can attach it to the minutes. Yes, thank you very much. All right, thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. All right, so library is done, mosquito control is done, health officer is tabled. We'll move on to some regular board business. We have a couple of things that we do have a few things that we decided to bump to next week for a little more work on them. So the first thing in front of us is in terms of the RPC and the Brentwood representative to RPC. Mark Kennedy is stepping down, correct? And does that, but we have 2 people going up. So can you put the microphone on?
Doug Marino is going to take Mark Kennedy's place, and then Kristen Aldrin is going to be an alternate.
Alternate, okay, that makes sense. Do we have an alternate now?
I can't remember.
Not sure, okay. So we have in front of us a request to make Doug Marino a member, and the question is, do we have him finish out Mark Kennedy's term, or do we appoint him for his own, I think it's a 4-year term? And then for Kristen, is the term of that set on here? Do you know, Jillian?
I do not know.
Doesn't say. We might have to just clarify with them what the term is for the alternate. I guess I can see if it's in their minutes.
It might be in that.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see. This is the prior one from March. So let me just look in their minutes here. Mark Kennedy resigns as one of the representatives to RPC. Motion made to endorse Dee Marino as one of the representatives. Motion for Kristen to be alternate. Does not say on here the terms. So we could either turf this for a week until we can clarify the terms, or we could approve based on the standard RPC terms. I don't know how the board would like to handle this.
Standard terms.
Sounds good to me. And do we know how long is left in Mark Kennedy's term if we do decide to do that? How far in he is? Because didn't he take over for somebody else too?
Yeah, so I think he was appointed, the one appointed in March.
He took over for Stephanie.
Perfect.
And so this says, there's a question here, is he fulfilling the rest of Stephanie's term, which ends November 2026? And I think, do you remember if that was a yes? Or if he got a 4-year term? Because I don't really remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember either.
Mark will be fulfilling the rest of Stephanie's term from March of this year. So that makes me think that his term ends November 2026. So if we wanted to do Doug till then, I think you thought there was some benefits to doing that, Jillian, because then they would be on the standard terms. And so it looks like that we could do that one through November 2026 if the board is in favor of that.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay, so we'll approve that. And then for Kristen, would the board be comfortable approving that? And then we can just clarify the term with RPC offline.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm an aye, so we'll move forward with those. Okay. Next, we have to sign the agreement with San Souci for our utility revaluations. So we're gonna be going out to bid for our home based revaluations, but we usually use a separate company for our utility revaluations. They did send us an updated agreement for doing that, which I believe, I think is or is it just a 1-year? No, this is a multi-year contract from 2025 to 2029. And it has all the same stipulations as our prior contract with them.
Has anyone reviewed the contract?
This had, do you know if this had been reviewed? I don't know. I think it is the identical contract that we have with them now, but we can certainly, if you want to table it and have council review it, we certainly can do that, or I can clarify
Want to look to see
With
that it's
them.
basically the same terms.
I think it's exactly the same, and it's for a fixed fee of $15,000 per year for a term of the contract. And I think we actually already approved this budget item, just have not signed the contract.
So that's the same amount as previous, is what you said? or-
No, we already approved this budget.
But
No,
I
I
think
know.
it was a small increase from prior, if I remember correctly. Do you have the
We approved the
prior
assessment.
budget? Or actually, I can look.
Did we approve the assessing budget?
I think we did. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I can look on the list and see if we did. Maybe we didn't.
So the budget last year was 14,000.
So it's up 1,000. Thank you for looking that up.
It's the same cost for the next
5 years.
5 years.
Yes, it's fixed for 5 years, 2025 to 2029. So, I mean, my understanding is this is the exact same contract. She just changed it to have my name on it instead of Karen's. but if folks want me to have legal counsel look over this, I can.
I'm
George, just pass it forward.
I'd be happy to. While you look at that. It was just sort of one of those things that I think had been kind of hanging over from when our town administrator was out on leave. Did we do? Yes, we approved the assessing budget in our very first budget meeting in October. I believe.
We approved it
with-
at the
You
15,000.
know what? I was just gonna say, let me double check that that's the number that's on here, because I suspect it is, but let me make sure. If not, we could reopen it. Clerk election. Assessing. We actually approved it at 14,000, so if we wanted to, we could reopen that and increase it by 1,000 based on the new contract, or we could
No,
not
thank you.
stress about it because it is $1,000 difference.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Because I suspect when this was made, the new number had not been inputted into there.
I bet Wayne's gonna have that much in salt money left over.
Don't talk about salt, it makes Wayne nervous.
Will he just appear? Will he just appear?
Don't, he might appear and start,
No, it'll start
Worrying.
snowing.
It's fine.
yeah, or it'll start snowing. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. So I'll just wait till Paul finishes looking that over.
So the contract has a scope of work for evaluation of taxable utility
Right.
property.
Yep.
It goes on to
I think we've used Sanssouci for ages,
while.
right? Yeah.
provides for confidentiality with respect to the data. It also provides that they'll maintain a respectable, healthy amount of liability insurance and get a certificate of insurance confirming that they are covered.
Sounds good to
So
me.
It would seem like a reasonable
Okay.
Awesome. Motion.
contract.
Second.
So I think just I have to sign this. We have a motion and a second. Oh, no, actually, maybe we all have to sign it.
Will it hurt if we
Or
all sign
four
it?
of us have to sign
Let's
it.
just all sign it.
Sometimes there's like a special number that's not 5. It looks like all of us have to sign it. So there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we'll sign this here. Maybe Jillian, you can witness us. 11, 26, 24.
It's fair. It's valid.
Or the fifth person can sign on the witness line.
That's true. Letty, you can witness us if
Okay.
you want.
Yep.
You know everybody's signatures by now, or chicken scratches.
Back.
All right, thank you for that. And then one last thing we have here is we have an application for abatement, and this has been reviewed by Jim Michaud. This is for 41A Mill Road, which is one, I think, in the new development. So Mr. Falzone had asked for an abatement because there was a mistake in that the property was assessed in terms of current use and not in current use incorrectly. And there's a communication here from our assessor saying the assessment card shows 65 acres in current use and 7.8 acres not in current use. That not in current use, the land value was 152,000 approximately and needs to be abated. And he said we should be reducing the still in current use. This is kind of written confusingly, but that the new taxable value should be 11,739 from the initial, And Jim said, I am communicating to the board, to the select board, that I recommend this abatement. And so I think this was just one of those errors that we end up correcting. So this would change the taxable property from around 157,000 to 152,000 down to 11,739. If everyone is in favor of accepting our assessor's recommendation, we have a form here to sign.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, and 1, 2, hey, there's actually 5 for us to sign. Woo. And we'll fill out the details for that. And thank you to our assessor for helping us with this. You know what, maybe I'll do the Windows thing tonight. So there had been a discussion a couple of weeks ago about the status of the windows at the rec. And we followed up with Kip on that. And essentially, he had been able to get one quote, which was back in July of this year. And that quote had come in, ballpark mid 40,000s. And when I talked to him about this, he said that, while this is not an emergency, he understands that this is something that has been on the to-do list for a while, and that there's a couple of windows that are in more 3 of the windows out of the however many there are, there's quite a few, are in immediate need of replacement, but it's not a critical emergency. And so if this board wanted him to make another attempt to get another quote, he would be more than happy to do that, with the caveat that he's not sure what he will get. But I think I was getting a vibe from the board that people wanted to at least try one more time before moving forward. Maybe not from Letty, but maybe from some other people on the board. How would the board like to proceed with this? And obviously, even if we do decide to go with this one company, we'd have to go back to them because this is an old quote that is 5 months old.
Because that's the first time we put out a request.
No, I think there'd been an open bid process for like 2 years, and we were just having a lot of trouble getting people. And this, we finally did get one this past summer.
But so it's been open for at least 5 months.
Yeah, I think it's been, haven't we been working on this for like 2 years?
I don't know if it's been 2 years, but it's
18
been a
months?
while.
It's been a while that, I think there's been multiple rounds of bid requests without a lot of action. But Kip said he would be more than happy to try again because it has been a couple of months, I think, since he re-solicited bids. Sure. So if the board wants to either have him reconnect with that one bidder, or if we want to have him attempt to get some additional bids and come back to us, we just need to give him that guidance. And he did tell me he made a couple of changes to what we asked for, because like the windows are high up enough at the rec that they don't need to be, you don't need to put them down from the top. So he picked some slightly cheaper options for those windows.
How many windows?
A lot.
How many would, like,
A lot. All of them.
if you add up the numbers in the quote next to each of the section, it should give you, I think it's like around 15, 20, something like that. 17, there you go. And I think the windows in there, I think are elderly. So I think some of the cost is, I think, reconstructing or replacing the framing as well for updated modern windows.
You have a thought, John?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's something that people have asked about in the public. They're like, hey, what's happening with those windows? So I think we need to have some forward motion. I personally think it would be perfectly reasonable for us to say to Kip, can you see what you can get in the next month or so and let us know? If the board would like to do that, if anybody wants to just throw in the towel and say, hey, let's go back to these folks and see what their current quote is. I think it's up to this board what you guys want to do. And I would entertain any motions on
And the money
On
is
that
coming from,
Capital
Where?
reserve fund.
building maintenance. Yeah, there's been money in there for this project. We just haven't got it off the ground.
I would make a motion that we go with this company, get an updated quote.
Okay, so we have a motion to go with this company and get an updated quote. Is there a second?
And the company, I'm sorry, the name again, I
It
missed
is
that.
Coastal Industries out of Haverhill, and Kip said that he had some good experiences with them.
Fine, I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so why don't we move ahead, have him reconnect these folks. I'll vote aye on this as well. I think it could go either way. And we'll have Kip reconnect with them and get an updated quote. Okay, perfect. Is that all the stuff that we had for regular business? I think so, right? Okay. So we will now move on to committee updates or other board business, and we'll start as usual with Andy.
so while we're on the rec, I guess Andy's been having problems with the fire alarm. Something to do with the landline. And today he asked me why we actually have a landline, and if the board would object to him getting rid of it. And I said, I don't know why we have a landline, but you would have to change your alarm system to either a cellular or a internet reporting.
Is that why we have a landline? It's just for
I
security?
think it's always been there because,
It just was.
yeah,
Yeah.
back before everybody had a cell phone.
Yeah.
If he's got a problem with the landline, can't we call the company and come?
He can, but it's an expense that do we really need to have?
No one
at
uses that
the
landline,
rec?
right?
No,
So how would the alarm system work?
it would have to be changed to a cellular or a internet.
How much is that
Based.
gonna cost?
No idea.
$60 per month plus $20 per month, plus the cost of the system. Just did this with the historical system.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. too.
Well, we already have the system. They just have to change how it's reported.
Because
That's
they already
true.
have
There's an
internet
existing
over there.
System that works
Right.
over there.
Then I don't know.
Because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah, so maybe we should research what the cost difference is of taking that line out, what the cost savings is of that versus whatever costs
Do you mean just,
would be involved in updating
do you mean
the
keep the
system.
same alarm system?
Yeah, just change how it reports.
What if there's no power?
It has a generator.
Yeah, okay.
And a
Are
Yeah,
you-
I'm just trying to think of reasons why we didn't switch it over.
Probably just because there's always been a landline there
Uh-huh.
from way back when.
Should be
Um,
switched.
Is the board generally in favor of us having Andy, either Andy, look into what the cost would be of upgrading that system and removing the landline? Anyone opposed to that idea?
No, do we have to
No.
pick an Andy or is it just Andy?
I'll work with Andy.
Yeah. But the Andy squared can work on that. Perfect. So it sounds like the board would be generally in favor of getting rid of that landline if there's absolutely no use for
Okay,
it. Okay?
good.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay.
Econ Dev met last week. And also, I think they're beginning on they're gonna be trying to get on a regular schedule. Be nice. And then, I met with Nancy Connor, the grant writer, on a long laundry list of different grant opportunities, rec included, Econ Dev included, Historical Society, library, also, we also met with Lieutenant Doty, Police Department. So some really good potential for getting the town some additional funds for, through the grant writing process.
Nice.
We'll keep you all posted on that.
And is that grant writer just working as many hours as we request? Like, is it sort of an on-call sort of system, or does she have a set amount of time she's
There-
giving to the town?
We approved a contract,
Right.
a trial contract for her to do up to X number of hours, I don't recall.
Right, so it's sort of as we need, as we request of her.
Yeah, but
Yep.
while she's getting spun up, she's doing a lot of research and meetings.
Sure, yeah.
and so it is the max that we approve.
Great,
as of
okay.
Right now.
Great. Yeah, it's really nice to have a grant writer for first time.
It
Awesome.
really is.
Great. Anything else for us?
That's it.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, conservation was a couple of weeks ago. We had the contract with Breen to clear out the Stevens
Field?
Field.
Yep.
And I believe that's been. Yeah. And you inspected?
Looks great. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Breen.
And we have a contract with the consultant, Ms. Boudreau.
She attended our open space committee on the 20th. So she's getting up to speed on a couple of things.
Great. So just to repeat, the consultant for conservation attended the open space meeting and is getting onboarded with the town's needs, and that's going well?
Yep.
Great.
And we had an application or a presentation by Northam survey for subdivision off of South Road, which small subdivision, like one lot. Okay. Looking at there was issues with regard to wetland, and I think we all felt they were doing what they needed to do.
Okay.
I think that's about it, right? Yeah. For the moment. That's all we care about is the moment.
Great.
So
Yep.
there you go.
Yep. And then we know conservation will keep us informed if there's other properties that are coming under consideration for conservation. So if anybody's listening to this and has any interest in conserving their property or getting an easement on their property, please contact the Conservation Committee or the Open Space Committee. Okay. Letty?
I was not at the planning board meeting last week. I think that's the only, so no, I have nothing. I mean, I probably have hundreds of.
Any assistance you need from the board with open enrollment for health insurance? Is that going okay? Do you have any
I think it's
updates for
going
us?
okay. I'm trying to now tabulate all of the responses I got into
Okay.
some sort of meaningful form.
Good.
That's it.
Okay. Wonderful.
Need me to go to-
I thought I was going to be able to go, and then I did not.
Okay. In terms of updates from me, we have had budget committee meetings just about every week for the past couple of weeks. Last night, we had a meeting where, as I indicated to you earlier, the highway and rec budgets were passed, which we have now subsequently also passed. Joint loss was passed, which we had already passed. And with a relatively short conversation, the fire budget was passed at the same number that we had passed. I think that was thanks to some lengthy conversations that had happened both at this meeting and at BudCom prior to that. So the budget was passed that would allow for the creation of the new deputy and the 2 new lieutenants. I think with that being the case, this board may want to think about, do we want to advise the fire chief to officially post and start talking to people about the presumed creation of those jobs? Obviously, the final say on this budget is with the legislative body in March, but I think if we have had it approved in the budget, that we may want to move forward. I don't know how the board would like to advise Chief Byrd in terms of those positions.
I think I can imagine it's going to take a while, so getting started sooner rather than later makes sense to me.
Yep, I think in general that had been the vibe before, to kind of post them as, anticipated openings. Okay, sounds good. And as I mentioned, the only budget that they still have on hold is the town administrator, so we can discuss that. Our next meeting for BudCom, we don't have a meeting next week, but we do have one the following week, December 9th, here at 6 o'clock. And as always, those are open to the public. I think that is the only other announcement that I had. We do have non-public tonight for a couple different topics. We have legal, we have reputation, we have personnel. So I'm going to say ACL. I think we also probably have hiring. Maybe we want to have some brief hiring discussions. So I would include that in our list as well. Does anybody have any additional non-public topics for tonight, or does that pretty much cover it?
Motion to enter.
Did we approve these?
Yes, we did. I think that was when you said yes, was when you were trying to help Janice get her PowerPoint up.
Checks out.
You may not know that you approved it, but
No,
you
I-
in fact did.
The half of my brain that was listening must have thought it was a good idea, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to enter non-public.
For the aforementioned reasons.
Okay, by John. Do we have a second?
Second?
We'll take a roll call. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And if we can just take like a 2-minute recess or 5-minute recess, that would be great. I just
You're
need
an aye
to
also.
go-
You're an aye also.
I'm an aye also. And if we can take a short recess, I just need to grab a different piece of paper from the other room.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy time with your family and time off.
Just a reminder.
And then I have